my name is Jamie Burchell, and you are listening to and or watching our podcast called Wormhole Pinball Presents. And today I'm really, really excited to be joined by a very special guest, Jason of the Pinball Party Podcast. Welcome to Wormhole virtually, Jason.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jamie. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, man, I've heard so many great things about you, and I'm so glad you said yes to the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. So many great things. Probably not all.
No, I've heard good things about you.
I'm hot off of an email. Tell me if you get this. The feedback email that they're like, I don't want to tell you what to do on your show or how to act, but then they tell you how to act and what not to say. And it's like, cool. However, this recent one, which is just someone who's, I've been listening for a long time, but don't do all this stuff. Clearly I'm doing something right if you've been listening that long, and I'm not going to change all that stuff. And I did reply this time. I rarely do, unless it's a positive thing. It's oh, thanks, because of the negative trolls. I just replied K, and that felt pretty good. I sent it to Kale, actually. Yeah, it was a good one.
I had one the other day. Someone came up to me and said, you talk too much in your podcast.
Thanks, bro.
I was like, where do I refund you? Where do I send a refund?
What do they expect to happen? Be like, oh my God, you're right. You're gonna save the day. I appreciate.
I do love when they walk up to you and say, oh man, I love your podcast. I love what you guys are doing over there at the Wormhole. If I could just, and then you're, it's over. It's like, here it comes.
Yeah.
Here it comes. Well, I heard we might have to make this podcast explicit. That's okay, since we both have interesting vernaculars, but no.
That was exactly what the most popular criticism, let's say, that I get is something along that, like somehow I'm new to the world that curse words some people are offended by, or that some assume that I say it just to say it, like I'm a 10-year-old, breaking the law. Nah, it's just how people talk. So, yeah.
You have carte blanche. Do whatever you want here. It's totally
nice. Cool.
So up until Monday, you're going to see me going like this. Up until Monday, I had really long curly hair, very hippie-ish.
Yeah, I didn't recognize you right when you joined. I was like, that's the wrong person.
No, I wear a hat a lot. And, well, let me tell you my bald story. Okay, I'll start with this. I'm going to tell you my bald story. I have a bald spot. I've been hiding it pretty good. I've got some good...
in the back here?
Yeah, in the back. I've got some Puerto Rican thick hair that was covering it up. And, not too many people know about the bald spot. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we streamed Ghostbusters here.
Oh,
and
great game.
It is great, but I choked at the end, and I took my hat and I threw it.
Uh-oh.
There for people to see is this bald spot.
Yeah.
On Twitch, and I fixated on it for 4 weeks.
Naturally. Yeah,
of course. Because I listen to you. We're both crazy. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
After the 4X this weekend, it was so hot here, and we're in Houston. So I just Monday morning found the first person open at 10 a.m. and I shaved it. So
wow, good for you.
It's freeing.
Yeah, I used to shave my. Yeah, look, that looks great, man.
It's freeing.
Yeah. Especially because you were a couple feet long, or
I was down to the shoulder, wet even further.
I used to shave my head as a kid, and it looked like just a tennis ball. And then the next time I shaved my head, I was 34 years old. I had started working out, stopped smoking cigarettes after doing that forever, and I miss it dearly. But I stopped doing that, and then I started working out, but I also wanted to really get into it, doing the, eating well, counting calories, doing all that. And for me, my personal, all right, I just got to do it. I shaved my head just as another transformation, but hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Did you get a tattoo in the back, like a triathlon tattoo or one of the Iron Man things? Did you go for the Iron Man?
At that time, no. I mean, I do have tattoos, but not at that.
I was just curious if you were one of the Iron Man people.
God, no. That is ridiculous.
You know how you know someone's an Iron Man person?
They tell you it.
Yeah, they don't shut the...
all the fucking time. Oh, I've done it many times. And the first time I passed out, I almost died. Okay.
All right.
I mean, it is impressive. Don't get me wrong.
It is. God bless him. How long have you been into pinball?
I've been in Eau Claire.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It means clear water. It is nice. How long have I been here? Well, I'm 41 years old. I've been here 41 years. I have been actually across the street I grew up somewhat and then got older. It's a really nice neighborhood. And then when you get to be like 25, 26, and you think your parents are, oh, I guess they're all right, in the 30 or whatever. Moved back anyway. I've been here, not like permanently for the whole time, but came back here. And when did I get into pinball? Like normal when I was a kid, and once in a while I could play it and I'd see it. And then high school, it was when we smoked cigarettes, which we had to do because that's just all we did.
What was your brand?
Marb Reds. Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless
I was a wuss all the way back then. I was the old
Camel Light,
dude. No, I was a light, gold box.
Okay. Well, unless I was sick, and then we thought that we'll smoke menthol, and that's correct because it just seemed like so. It was Marb Reds or it was Newports, and we couldn't. Our parents were very not accepting of smoking cigarettes, so we would go to like coffee shops to smoke cigarettes or just skateboard and stuff. It was a classic punk rock, skate, smoke, do drugs, all that. I guess not much has changed, but a successful one, I guess, at this point.
You go.
But so we would go to the bowling alley because you could smoke cigarettes there. I'm like, all right, well, we're here. Let's play Street Fighter or whatever. And then pinball was there, and you kind of gravitated towards it. And Adam's family was kind of the first one that was like, oh, there's more to this than just hitting the balls around, as they say. And then it had a Attack from Mars next to it, and Gottlieb Waterworld, which is the one I first fell in love with, which is strange to say. And then around that era, other bowling alleys had like Tales of Arabian Nights, Twilight Zone, all the stuff around there. And that's when I first got the kind of like, oh, I like this more than I thought. And
pretty good golden age, though, pinball right there.
My God. Yeah. And then like the pizza place would have Medieval Madness, like anyone at that age that would, or that realm era would play. Yeah.
How did you start the Pinball Party Podcast in September of 2022? Like what? How did you decide to get into this?
I was, man, it kind of came out of nowhere. That's what she said. It was like I was working on an album called Cosmic for, it's called, the group, it's not a group, it's just me, but the band name is called Neon Dale. So I was a musician growing up. I still am.
Right.
And I went to school for music theory and music composition, and I was playing in a bunch of punk bands as a drummer. I was a drummer first and foremost. This is the long-winded answer. Sorry, but I love.
Come on, man.
Okay, and
it'll satisfy my buddy who says I talk too much. That guy.
Okay, I'll talk too much. Then.
Yeah, that'll be perfect.
Yeah, then they can email me and tell me to shut the fuck up. I was a drummer. I went to school for music theory and all that because I was much more into songwriting and melody stuff and all that, and like. I was known as a really good drummer in this town. And like it's a very big jazz town, and I couldn't shake it of like, I'm not just a drummer. And like people would like, it's a long story. But so I left for that, go to music school, came back, started doing it where I was, writing songs, playing guitar, being a front man and leading a band and doing all that. And met my wife, kept doing it. And, she was very supportive of it. And I've always been just a good songwriter. And I had a lot of problems like anyone who's been in a band or is with like the band is not successful if the rest of the people aren't, or if you're not on the same page. And there's a lot of drama that can be in that. And my biggest problem was I would surround myself with people that wanted to do it, but weren't as, I'll just, at this age, you can just say what it is, but weren't as talented, weren't as good, weren't on the same page. And I was getting held back by some of that. So I was recording this album called Cosmic, which was really a practice of I don't want anyone's help. I'll do all the instruments myself, all the vocal, everything. I'll do all myself because I just wanted to, like, prove something to myself. And instead of recording it myself this time, which I could do, I wanted to pay a different studio to do it. And we used the studio called Black and Bloom out of Denver, Colorado, which does a lot of punk bands in the realm of like Lagwagon, Mellon, Colin, Fat Records type stuff. Anyone who knows what I'm talking about knows what I'm talking about. But the kind of catchy pop punk type of stuff. And to do that, I had to go on 2 different weeks to fit it in between work and different altitude. As a singer, you have to just do a lot of, I would like sing on the treadmill with like tape on my mouth to just get myself ready for that. There's a reason I'm saying all this. No. And in all the prep of all this, it was between the first week and the second week. First week I went to do drums and rhythm guitar, and then with a buddy to help me just so I didn't screw up my wrist too much from tendonitis. And then when I was prepping for the second part, which was all more rhythm guitar and all the vocals, I was mowing my lawn and I was listening to Triple Drain podcast. I had been doing like the pinball stuff, on my own, like buying and selling a little bit here, there, one or two games, and listening to Triple Drain a lot and the pinball show back then. And Tom or Travis, Joel was like, hey, we should get this theme song for this Tom Talks kind of thing. If someone wants to make one, that'd be great. And I'm like, I seen the realm of pinball podcasts and knew the ability of some of this and the great podcasts, like the music and all that. I'm like, I'll give them one. And so I stopped mowing the lawn. I went in the house because I just had an idea right away. And I was just, when you're in it and like songwriting, for me, it's like riding a bike and it just kind of comes out. Wrote the song quick, sent it to him, and he basically sent back a message like, holy shit, what the fuck? Can you do more? Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, but like at some point, like, all right. So he's like, can you do a theme song for the show? I was like, well, okay. Recorded it really quick, sent it, and she's like, Jesus Christ, can you do this thing on that? I'm like, all right. So Joel Engelberth and myself built this kind of like relationship on the side of just doing this thing, and I wasn't doing a podcast or anything. And I went and recorded the album and took a break from pinball and came back like 6 months after that. And I was listening to a lot of Final Round pinball because the humor is great. The swearing is my style. And Jeff and Marty. And I started emailing them once in a while, like, hey, like giving them shit. I just liked that. And I was missing more podcasts. There wasn't enough for me. I wanted to get more. And I was like, well, basically, all this comes down to like one day I just came right down in here and just said, I'll just fucking make one and just hit record. I had no plan. And I was like, well, I can make like a theme song or something. I can just, I can be impressive audio wise. I know what I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And I'd hit record and just start kind of talking. And the first one, actually, it got DMCA'd because of my own music. It thought I was copyright, like infringement. I was like, fuck me. Like I had to email them back. Like they took it down. Like that's my music. I do own it. Like they took me down. And I was like, the wind got out of my sails, to be honest, on the first one. Cause like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't care. I just did a podcast for fun. I'm not going to release it. I don't care. And Zach Meny reached out after like 3 weeks. And he's like, hey, I was trying to find this podcast you made, but like it's not there anymore or something. He's like, oh, anyways. I was like, it kind of like gave me a little more like, all right, maybe it's okay. I'll do it. I'll finish it. I'll do another one. I did another one and then started to see some of the listenership go up pretty fast. And I was like, okay, is this normal? What's going on? And then Zach, reached out. He's like, hey, you should come on the Pinball Network. And I was like, okay, there we go. And that's it.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
So, wow, you're still writing it. Just like the no invite to the Stern Media Day, Wormhole didn't get an invite to TPN either. So,
oh man, yeah. Well,
I have a good story for you about TPN. Do you want to hear it real quick and we can cut it if it doesn't work?
I love it.
All right.
Me.
So, my stupid story of TPN is if you're listening to Wormhole for the first time, we started in COVID. We're a private pinball club.
Yeah.
Dollar games on Monday nights, right? And then we morphed later into the more tournaments podcast, this sort of thing that we're doing here. But when we first started the stream, I sent an email to Zach and announced that we were ready to join the Pinball Network. Right?
Nice. Yeah.
Nice. Right. Now that's some insight into my mind, Jason, a little bit. I'm like, okay, we're ready.
Yeah, we're ready.
We're ready.
Yeah.
We click start.
Yeah.
So Zach says no new members for the rest of the year, which is a very nice way of saying no. Not only does no one know who we are, but our stream is pretty bad. Our audio sucks. Litany of issues.
Okay. Sure. Trash.
But, I'm willing to learn. And Zach's like, he's a nice dude. And he goes, hey, why don't I invite you to our TPN Discord? Okay. And you can learn a few things. That's a nice way of saying you suck. Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
Right. So I joined the Discord and no one knows who we are, but I come in hot, a little hot, but they really helped me with OBS. Tremendous. Helped me with the gear.
Wait, when was this? What year?
This is like 2022.
Was I in the Discord while you were in there? I thought I might have seen Wormhole in there. Okay.
Maybe. I was only in for a little bit.
All right.
Because, I felt like, because then of course, then we start doing better. And then I ask again, like a total and utter jackass. I'm actually cringing telling the story right now.
I love it.
Do you? It's a terrible story.
I do, because I'll tell you, before you go on to make you feel better, I had sent a very similar message to the Pinball Network before he reached out. And when he did, he never saw the email that I sent, that it was the same as you, like, I'm ready.
Yeah, that's. I was like,
Then
okay,
he found it like a month later. And he's like, look at this. I was like, you got me, bitch. We laughed about it.
what I think what I wanted, Jason, was probably a shortcut. Because I built my own companies and I know how long it's going to take. So I was like, okay, maybe we can get a shortcut. But Tim and John of the Wormhole sat me down and they were like, look, are you having fun on the mic? I go, yeah, it's my favorite thing to do. He goes, you're going to learn everything else. You'll learn it. Keep effing up and we'll get there. Build your audience, build it organically. And I think that's what we've done, build it ourselves. But this is my formal apology to Zach Meany. I'm sorry for putting you in a position where you had to tell me no, but thank you for telling me no.
Fuck you, Zach. That's
no.
No, it's from me to him. He'll appreciate it. Yeah.
So what was your initial vision with this podcast? Did you have did it change from the beginning? Did you brainstorm something even more and say, I wanted to morph into this?
I guess if you really want to know, I had no vision in the beginning, except for I wanted to find a way to get discounts on games because you run that awesome organization. I just have to trade and sell just to be able to play games. So I needed to find a way. And I did try to think of, is there a way I can do audio for certain other podcasts or other pinball things to just mitigate some of the cost of everything? And the answer is yes. In the end, I did. So I did accomplish one of those goals. But Kale would know this more than anyone of the vacillation in my head that I would do with because of the amount of emails that I would get. The podcast became popular fast and still is, but with it comes, I love it. You've a lot of meaningful stuff. I listened to it then and it really feels good, some of them. But then there's the dark side of you swear too much, you're an asshole, you bring God into this stuff. You say things like this, okay, then don't listen. And I had to learn in the beginning, I was always second guessing myself and I'm doing the wrong thing. I shouldn't, I'm trying to be everything to everyone. And what am I doing? And Kale would often talk me off the ledge of no, just double down, be yourself, whatever. And then, part of me was all right, I'm going to make the theme song. I'm going to use the word fuck a lot in it. So it was just fuck, and all that. And then I wouldn't burn bridges, but I kept not knowing what I wanted to do, I guess, to answer your question. And whenever I find myself trying to not be me, which is, the best episodes are where I'm just me. You might hate it. It's, Meth being a pervert. It's more humor based. It's me just, making fun of myself and everything. I just have to enjoy it. So to use an example, and it's for me, you shared something somewhat, as you said, embarrassing. This is embarrassing to me, but if I had any sort of vision in my head, it was if I had to pigeonhole this podcast, it would be much more in the Always Sunny in Philadelphia realm of that's just kind of me anyways. George Carlin humor, that humor of you live once, it's a fucking joke. Who cares? Make fun of everything.
I think what you really do well is talk to the mic, if that makes sense. What I mean is it's very difficult to be one-on-one with the listeners. And you do that extremely well. I'm kissing your ass way too much early on, but I think you do that very, very well. And it's very few can do it. Carry a conversation flowing with yourself. It's an impressive ability. So I'm not at the point where I could do it.
I appreciate that. And you come across as very easy to listen to in the ones I've seen. So, same to you. I guess the other thing that I say it out loud sometimes, I will often record this when I'm, okay. People will reach out afterwards. Are you okay? Are you depressed? No, I'm not. Nothing against that. I'm very, I spend about 24 hours of the day in my head, self-reflecting on everything. I'm just a very existential person. That's all I do. So oftentimes I'll record and I will just go in that realm and I will talk to the mic. It's just, I'm letting stuff out, whether it's pinball or whatever. And that's why it sometimes comes across, I guess, as really natural. Cause I am just saying oops, I'm going to say whatever and use it almost as therapy.
I loved the conversation the other day you had about peeing in the sink. I was like, that's freeing, right? It's freeing to be able to sit here and say, Jamie Birchall, pee sitting down. I like to pee sitting down. I live with my wife. I don't want to deal with the up and down crap anymore.
And that's true.
Yeah, I do.
That's nice.
Yeah, I just
That's
pieced it
nice.
down.
What? That's almost more work for me. And I almost thought of doing it. The peeing in the sink thing is not somewhat new. A buddy I do music with, I asked him that like a year ago via text, and I just was like, "Hey, dude, do you ever pee in the sink?" And he responded aptly, "What the fuck?" And then within 3 hours, he sent me a song. There is a song about peeing in the sink that a songwriter I work with sometimes. Yeah, and I was thinking of putting in there, but I'll save that for some other time.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Where did the idea for deep dives into the Machine podcast come from? Those are awesome.
I can tell you exactly where it came from. There is a very popular, one of the most popular video game podcasts out there is Retronauts. They do basically, well, to answer that, let me answer a question you didn't ask. Some of the vision and things that I've thought of in the
Okay.
past of like I don't know how to do things half-ass. So when I started doing the Pinball Podcast and the TPN and why I left was where I have higher aspirations for doing like a network type thing, not like a pinball network, but beyond that, there's some big podcast entities like Duckfeed TV, Earwolf, like big like there's businesses out of podcasts, and it really very much intrigues me. So for podcasting, I take it seriously in a lot of ways, and doing research and listening to them. I'm a podcast addict myself. I listen to podcasts all the time. I've been doing it for forever. Retronauts does a video game podcast. They're so very successful, and they have this other offshoot. They don't technically, so I shouldn't say that. Another similar podcast than them. And what they've done over the years is a very successful model, looking at both their numbers from listenership and Patreon stuff, and like my listenership of like, no, that's work. That's very fair. What you do is awesome. Is like their main show is all weekly or bi-weekly, whatever they do, and then they have this. They don't call it deep dive, but it's the same thing as what we do on deep dive. They pick a very specific thing, and they're like, we're only going to talk about that. We're going to try not to get off the rails, but if we do, it's just that, and they put that behind the paywall of. So I basically mimicked it, they would do it with like Contra or Mario 3 or Mario 2
Contra.
Japanese or pick something specific and just do it.
Awesome.
And I noticed in pinball, for some reason, it just wasn't happening. Yeah, there's Silver Ball Chronicles, which is probably the closest somewhat thing.
Right.
Yeah, but and it was another excuse, honestly, for me to talk to a buddy, Zach, who lives a couple states away, that we do a lot of this stuff. And he's very similar mindset. And yeah, that's how it started. Like, let's just start picking our favorite games and just only talk about this. And I say a lot of that predication because, of course, the smartest people out there who are not doing these podcasts want to give me feedback on how to do all of that, which said, you should really stop putting these 5-minute previews on your main channel because, like, we don't want to be downloading. And it's like, great, well, news for you, it works really well. So yeah, like you don't have to let's download it. It's really to say. And the other side of it is instead of just saying go pay for the stuff that you might not like, it's a preview. Like if you like this, join the Patreon. If not, like no harm, no foul. I was like, what's wrong with you? What? But
Speaking of Patreon,
yeah,
do you think you would ever go 100% behind the wall? Because I think you should actually.
okay. I've thought of it because of. I won't say too much just because of the respect out of TPN. I know from being on Pinball Network, like where I stood in the pantheon of pinball podcasts, and I'll say very high.
Yeah.
And when I left, it was really to just have a little more control. I know it does well, but I know beyond that, the stuff that I do with like meth and the sound of the sound editing, like believe it or not, some of these so I've put 20, 40 hours into some of these episodes because I want
That's what
to.
I'm saying. That's another thing. What I'm saying is it takes me 4 hours just to write a script, right? To try to have some resemblance of an interview to go down, right? And that really depends if I know the person or not.
Yeah.
That doesn't include video editing now that I'm getting better at, and all things, and uploading to YouTube on HD. So we're talking 6 to 10 hours per pod. And that's just me doing an interview. I can't imagine with Meth and all the things that you do. So that's why I was curious about it.
Yeah, I've heavily considered it, and I'm still heavily considering it. And I've, full disclosure, behind the scenes, I actually have a pretty good relationship with Kaneda, and we talk about certain things, and I don't know him in real life, but in this kind of realm of,
Yeah.
and there's encouragement from other avenues as well. But I I want to really, I like podcasting as a field, pinball or not. I am very interested in growing a
Mhm.
pinball entity, sorry, a podcast entity. That's a long-term goal. Then
Okay.
yes, I think certain parts of it would go paywall only, but I think it would, yeah.
Yeah, and I like Chris very well. In fact, I'm going to New York in 2 weeks, and we're gonna go play pinball. So
Nice.
I've had him on the podcast. Great dude. He's
Yeah,
been good to me, so I don't have any.
right.
I never
T-
got so no worries there. Do you have any favorite podcasts that you personally recorded? Maybe you go back and you go, man, that was a good one.
They all have to do with, most of them have to do with meth. I was just actually going through all of them the other day, not listening to each one, but like so I use Logic Pro for my editing, and like when
Okay.
it's a meth episode or something, I can just visually see how much was done to it. So I was going through all the episodes and pulling out meth clips to do like a best of meth. That'll probably be Patreon or something. Um, but as aside from the meth ones, I there's a couple that stand out. One is the first one I did on TPN with Zach because we put a lot of editing into it, and we got Greg to do a little cameo, and I was like, hey, let's really like lean on this, and let's steal straight down the middle's thunder, and like it was really just like a meta making fun of all of ourselves, which was really fun. That one of those first ones with Zach, the the 12 Days of Balls one I did with Ian from Nudge, who I know you
Yeah.
had on recently, because behind the scenes, him and I hadn't talked for a long time, and he had gone through a lot of health stuff, and it was like honestly us catching up in real life while doing the podcast, and it was intended to be a half hour, it ended up being like an hour and a half,
Yeah, those are
and
great. Oh,
yeah, and it was one of those natural ones. But yeah, out of all the all the ones that I like, there's one that I like the best that I've gotten other feedback like, "What the hell were you doing?" I was like,
yeah, because
"Well,
that was
what?"
my next question. Like any podcasts that reside really with you that maybe not so much with the audience or
Yeah,
yeah.
two of them. One, and I get it, but I still fucking love it. Where I had Meth. So anyone who picks up on some of the like through lines with Meth, like he slowly is evolving. He becomes a pervert. He learns how to masturbate. He has this small affinity with horses, which is weird. And then it escalated to the point where I'm at a park with Meth, and he gets in an argument with this little girl. Calls her a bitch or whatever. It's to me, it's hilarious. And then there's a horse that starts walking through the park and gallops and stuff, and he starts getting horny and jacks off to the horse. And I fucking I was on cloud nine and sharing it with my wife, who absolutely loves it. Like she loves that humor. She's the same as me. Like she's my best friend, and also so like I was so there's an animation of it. I love it. So meth jacking off to a horse. Not everyone loved it. A couple of people were like, "What is wrong with you?" But growing your listenership naturally, that weeded out some of them. That was one, and the other one was completely different. Very early on, I did this dreams episode where I kind of sound created a dream that I had the night before, which I actually had to edit over a few days period because there's I can take a screenshot and show you. It's stupid how much editing was in there, but it was a dream about me getting abducted by an alien. It wasn't humorous. It was just I wanted to experiment with just some sound design and do all the stuff and make it pretty cinematic, and had nothing to do with pinball. And a couple people were like, I saw the numbers. Like that episode was great, and the next episode like dropped like 500 listens because people are like, "What are you doing?" And I think even Zach Many gave me shit. He's like, "Well, when you make a podcast just about dreams in a pinball thing, you might lose some listenership." I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's pretty awesome though."
Sometimes you have to have the Seinfeld Chinese restaurant episode. You know what I mean?
Man. Ah,
Sometimes you have to have that episode. It's a fun episode.
yeah.
Do you let's talk about like the pinball rumor mill content. Is that a space you like to play in? Getting scoops, CNN
Yes.
breaking news?
I don't care about like the breaking news part of it, but I love to talk about it with. I love it in my head. It's my favorite thing. So when a podcast talks about it, I love it. If yeah, all the time. I sometimes do know things and make light of it. Like anyone has to do. I
Right.
would love to just say, I know this is coming next year or whatever, but and via text or whatever, when people like don't say anything, I do know some stuff, but I do love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kineticist Nap and Canada do a good job of getting the info out there for us, and then
Yes.
we can sit and talk about it.
Yep.
I think, you
Yep.
know, they do a good job. Do you post on Pinside a lot? I,
Well,
I,
aside from
I don't. I'm not there yet.
not in blogs, I don't want to. No, I mean
I
that's.
posted like our podcast early on, and I got crickets, and
Oh,
I haven't gone.
if you want to get wrecked,
Yeah.
go post your that stuff on Reddit. They will
Okay.
eat you alive. It's awesome.
The
I do
pinball
it
Reddit.
yeah, go to r/pinball and be like, hey, the new podcast. They'll be like, fuck you, get out of here. It's because they don't want like any promotion, all this, because it's all these like angry people in their basement. It's just like me or you, and it's like, dude, I know, but like I'm just saying, it's out there.
Come on, it's a good podcast. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they rip you apart.
I go to Tilt forums. They say there's no one there, but it seems to be nicer, and they help me a lot with my cameras and equipment.
Oh, good.
So shout out to Tilt. There, we just had a wormhole meeting. I saw that you only have one sponsor. You use Flipping Out, right?
Yes.
That's your sponsor. And we had a meeting and we said no more sponsors, and we're just going to do beer.
Good.
Because we're open 3 days a month. That's it.
Wow.
And we got sponsored by St. Arnold, which is a brewery here in Texas.
Okay.
And they sponsored us for the month of June. And then we've got a month of July and a month of August. And we just get 8 to 10 cases of beer that they donate to us. And we open them up when we have our tournaments, and we let everyone have a lot of fun.
That is a great sponsor. We were trying to get sponsored by, I can't remember. If I think of it, I'll tell you later in the episode. It was nothing to do with pinball. It was like a super inside joke. It was was it Trojan condoms? We were trying to get sponsored by something like that. Just like, what the fuck? Yeah. But
I was on a soccer podcast a long time ago, and I know how much you love sports. And
please.
okay, so I was on a soccer podcast, and we got about like 10 to 15,000 downloads a week. Like it was,
Fuck.
but it was all in Scotland and Ireland because it was a soccer team over there. So here,
Yeah.
I'm the American co-host, sidekick, really.
Okay.
The reason I'm telling you this is we would go some places and get recognized.
Wow.
And I went to Vegas to like a Celtic convention, and I got recognized and people taking pictures. How is that weird for you now? Did that get weird? All of a sudden in 2022, people are getting to know you, and they're sending you friend requests on Facebook, and they're trying to be your buddy. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Yes. I stay off of all that stuff. I never say my last name. My Facebook is completely locked down. I'm just not a social media guy, and I like my privacy. And I haven't gone to any. The only expo I went to or convention was one of them, but I kind of went to go hang out with Ray Day and a couple people there. And it was like I don't wear like my pinball party shirt. There's only one of these shirts. I don't have merch. I don't like whatever. I don't like that. I like the adoration. I like the that the compliments, and sure, more so in music, but I don't want to be recognized.
No,
Yeah, not
I don't
really.
know. It just kind of comes with it, though. Sometimes.
Yeah, I shouldn't say I don't want to, but like those numbers, by the way, like for anyone listening, like 10,000, that is not pinball numbers, listeners.
Oh no,
like,
shit, dude!
it's
I don't
shit.
even. I have like 3,000 followers on Twitter, former X, right?
Sure.
When I try to reach those Celtic supporters and get them in the pinball, they could give two shits.
Right.
They don't care. So none of that transport.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's what I've struggled with in the past. Of like speaking about myself, of putting all this effort into a pinball podcast, where like many people, including myself and my wife and myself, like every day of like, why are you doing this in pinball? Do this in video games. Do this in movies, where the listenership would exponentially skyrocket if you were doing something else.
I have the same conversation all the time because I'm saying, okay, I'm dealing with criticism. We talked about that earlier. I'm dealing with, not as many. These rigs behind me, they cost a couple of dollars to build.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, I would like to recoup some of that. Of course, I chose a hobby that's a subculture of a subculture. So,
What are we doing?
what are we doing? I don't
Yeah.
know. I have an idea that I'll tell you about after.
I can't wait. Yeah, don't tell
No,
these people.
after these podcasts, I'm going to tell you
Okay.
an idea. It's fucking good too, dude.
Okay.
All right. This is where the editing just kills me.
I stopped editing
You
because
did?
I did. Unless I accidentally, well, I won't say if my humor, there is a spot where like I will
Sure.
be like, all right, I won't say that. There's been a couple dark things I've removed, but because I can't edit like, oh, I'll just do one or two. So I'm like, well, I just spent 6 hours editing during work hours, and I forgot to do my actual job and manage a bunch of sales engineers, and then so now I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna be better at enunciating and
Yeah.
doing my thing.
I'm
And
trying. This is only podcast 30, so I'm not there yet. I need to get better. I'll get better.
eh.
How many podcasts have you done full music for?
What well, none of them except for Triple Drain have asked for it. So but they've
Is
Triple
that
Drain flipping out or so. Well, he uses the flipping out song for a lot of stuff, and I use it. I have a few different versions. But there's like
that's the one I
four.
buy my pinball shit I buy from Flipping Out?
Yeah,
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 thanks for that one, by the way.
yeah,
It's almost as bad as like 1-800 cards for kids.
yeah. As in like catchiness. Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't.
Not
Yeah.
like not terrible, but catchiness wise. Because I'll be doing these hikes with my wife, and then
Mm,
I'll listen to the pinball podcast, and then I'm singing your song. I don't even hear what they're saying. Just
good. That's what that makes me feel good, honestly. Out of like when I get, or anything, oh, good podcast, cool. No, that's the stuff because music is still my to me what I feel like I'm put on this earth to do the closest thing. I don't, and to be honest, like it.
so does this just scratch an itch for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
Yep.
this scratches an itch for me. I wanted to be on the radio. People that listen, they get sick of me telling the story, but I wanted to be on the radio. I went to college to be on the radio.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. They canceled that program my freshman year. So I
Oh
was like,
shit.
shit. All right. I guess I'll go to business and be a recruiter. That's somehow what I did.
Damn. Yeah, it's an itch scratcher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. Are you ready for rapid fire? This is a rapid fire little game that we play. Donovan, my co-host, sometimes he writes these, and this is
Okay.
his baby. All right. So all praise goes to him, all shit goes to him if we don't like it. All
You say
right.
Donovan? Is that what's
Donovan Wade, that's my buddy. He
All
does
right.
all the video editing.
What's up, Don?
So,
Oven.
all right, you're on a raft and can only save one person. Is
Pass.
it Jeff or
Okay.
Marty?
Oh fuck. I'm gonna do Jeff just because that. Yep, I'll do Jeff.
Okay. I was going to ask you Zach or Joel the same question, but I switched to Jeff or Marty.
Oh, you're saying if it was a raft, would I save Joel or Zach?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh man.
I think you save Zach and eat Joel because he's big. He's got like, I've just met him the other year at TPF this year, and he's got a gigantic tree trunks. I mean,
yeah. He's a lumberjack.
Yeah. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
All right.
Between that, the Joel and Zach, I'd take one for the team. I'd jump out of the boat. See ya. Yeah.
Better pinball soundtrack, Black Knight Sword of Rage or TNA?
TNA.
This is a ridiculous question Donovan sent me. You are a deposed Panamanian dictator claiming asylum in a Catholic church. What music does the United States government blare outside to get you to surrender?
Fuck. Give me that nut by Eazy-E.
What is your go-to crank it up mode in Metallica?
Fuck, I haven't played Metallica in so long, so I don't have a default. I'm happy to get there.
You secure the license for a music pinball theme, but it cannot be rock. What license do you secure?
Oh, because I was gonna say Neon Dale. Damn it. It can't be rock. A
Can't be
pinball-
rock.
Oh, God, it would just be called Irish. And it would be, because I'm not going to do like Flogging Molly or Dropkick Murphys or the Pogues, but it would be like Pogues and the Dubliners and the Irish Rovers. It would just be called Ireland.
Um, it's Tech Night here, so you're going to see some techs in the background.
Okay,
We're going to do a Tech Night stream in a little bit. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
nice.
All right, Pearl Jam or Nirvana?
Ooh, damn. Nirvana, but a special shout out to Pearl Jam 10.
Uh, Pearl Jam 10 is the
Yeah.
Beatles or Stones?
God, I don't like either of them.
All right.
But Beatles.
Zeppelin or the Who?
Fuck. Zeppelin because it's a big inspiration to Danny Carey and Tool.
Good news, the license to The Matrix has just been secured. Bad news, they didn't get the first movie. What other Matrix movie is a good consolation prize?
I would. Oh God! So it's pick one of the other.
Yeah, 2, 3, or 4. 4 is garbage. It's not even a movie.
Christ. I would take 4 for the memes, but out of those, I would take 3.
Okay. Any future tattoos on the horizon?
Yeah. Yes.
How
Shall
many
I
do you have
describe?
already?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 6. One of them has a lot in it, but yeah, 6.
I have 10 all here, and I keep them under wraps.
No shit.
Yeah, I do. I have like a few on the leg that people can see, but I keep that shit under wraps. I don't know why.
Are they all dicks? Bunch of dicks?
Rachel wrote,
Yeah.
and I got a stencil, and it worked out really nice. It was good.
Good. That's good.
Last question in rapid fire. What pinball machine have you sold, brought back, whatever? Which one do you want back the most?
I've had Lord of the Rings so many times, and I just had it
Yeah.
again. I just sold it 2 days ago again. It's just it's a problem. What I God, I'm kind of in a spot right now. I don't know if you get to this place where like I don't want anything right now. No, Iron Man Vault Edition. There we go.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that
I've
would
had it a
be
couple
fun for a
times.
while.
But it's
You
yeah,
have had it a couple times? How many
couple
times have you had it?
Iron Man twice, maybe 3 times, twice. Yeah.
All right. That was fun, Jason. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us today. I would absolutely love to meet and hang out with you. Have you ever been to Houston?
Have I? No, I've only been to God. Have I been to Texas? What the fuck? Maybe.
All right. So here's the deal. All right. We've got the Houston Arcade Expo in October.
Okay.
Short notice, probably not going to happen. You got TPF in March. That should happen for you.
Okay.
Right. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we have a pinball museum called the Wormhole East Pinball Museum. It's going to open in late 26, 27. It's going to feature 125 pinball machines, very rare. If you know Tim and Christine and Tim's collection, I'm going to build the most incredible streaming shit that you've ever seen. I'm going to rip off everyone and their grandmother to make that just incredible. So as this gets closer, the Wormhole East, we're going to throw a Monster Grand opening / tournament, and we would love for you to come to that. So
Okay.
2027, I'm sure you can.
I'm busy that day.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Rachel and Kale will come. We'll get Ian. We're gonna have a party. It's gonna be incredible.
Okay. All right. All right.
Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, not many places because I stay off the grid and I don't update my social media as much as so don't come find me. But Instagram is probably the most busy, or Patreon, honestly. Even if you join as a free member, we have a pretty good community there and a lot of chatting and just talking there. So come join Patreon, even if it's just free to hang out. Really good community if you're of similar ilk. Otherwise, I mean, I do have a Facebook, and when I remember to post, I do. But I don't try to like build followings or that kind of stuff because I just don't like social media, and that's probably a bad thing. So yeah, otherwise come find the Pinball Party. Just search in your podcast of choice called the Pinball Party, and I'll be there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Thank you for the therapy session, letting me delve. Again, should I send the copay anywhere? Is there
yeah, just cash.
Cash. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, man. I really appreciate your time, dude. Thanks.
Same.
I
Thanks for
really
having me.
appreciate it. All right, brother. Thanks.
All right. Yep.
Thanks so much for doing this podcast, Jason. And really, thank you to Ian Jacoby of Nudge Magazine for making this happen. I'm serious. I want to hang out with these guys. We could all get into a lot of trouble, and that'll be fun. Listeners, email us at wormholepinball@gmail.com on who you think would be a good guest on the show, someone we should highlight. Some good emails have come in, so please keep them coming. Like and subscribe and all that shit. And if you want to join Discord, let me know as well. Streams coming up, guys. I'm really geeking about this new camera that I bought. I have it right here. It's called the Osmo Pocket 3. It's totally and utterly badass, and we're going to be doing some really good video content with it. And I already filmed 2 videos. They're on YouTube, so go check those out. One is a quick intro to the wormhole. I walk through it, and then the next is really, in case I win the lottery, a nice video on how to set up the rigs, pardon me, and all that good stuff. Speaking of content on Twitch, we already have a channel called Wormhole Pinball. We have a new stream that we're going to be putting on Wednesdays. In fact, I need to wrap this podcast up because it is Tech Night at the Wormhole, and that's going to be the name of the of the stream, Tech Night at the Wormhole. So we've got this large whiteboard, and that's called the List of Grievances. And we're going to have a camera on the board and all through the night, walk around with the mobile rig and the mobile camera and see what everybody's doing. So your hosts are going to be John Spates and Kira Warren. I'll occasionally stop by that as well. Father's Day weekend, big tournament. Pinburg Golden Ticket Tournament sponsored by Barrels of Fun. We're going to be streaming that in its entirety. This entire Saturday qualification and then the Sunday finals. I'm excited to announce, ladies and gentlemen, that we will be housing a Ninja Eclipse by Turner Pinball, and it will be in the Pinburg Golden Ticket Tournament. Thank you, Chris Turner, again for reaching out, and we're so excited for everyone to flip that even more. I can't wait to play Ninja Eclipse again. Would like to end this positive podcast, excuse me. I'd like to end this podcast on a feel-good story, if you will. We could all use a feel-good. Feel-goods are nice. Across the street from the Wormhole are 2 restaurants, the Burger Joint and the Taco Stand. Not the most original names for restaurants, but they are really good restaurants and good place to eat. And one Saturday afternoon, a married couple were having lunch at one of the restaurants across the street, and they see people coming in and out of this small, nondescript, 1-story building with a $39 insurance written on it. A DJ Lowe blasting, his name is DJ Lowe, blasting music at an apartment complex being built around the Wormhole. So one of them had to find out what this place was. So he researched and he found out our story. And he found out that in a few weeks we'd be having a tournament. So he plans a blind date, if you will, for his husband. He told him that they're going to go do something fun, but it was a surprise. And so when people walk into the Wormhole for the first time, it's a cool sight to see, especially for the regulars. We instantly loved their story, made sure they felt at home here at the Wormhole, and they both actually played pretty well on the 4X. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you for finding us. It was a pleasure to meet you both. And thanks again for listening. I'm Jamie Burchell for Wormhole Pinball Presents. Take care.